Welcome to Warp Core Breach, episode 43. On this episode, we're reviewing Wave 25! Yay! And now here's my co-host, the reprint to my repaint.
Repaint, for I have thinned.
Oh no, not the puns.
Okay, this is me we're talking about here.
Oh yes, I know. I just got back my Romulan Dideridix from getting repainted with a cloaked motif.
Ooh.
And Romulan fighters. It's amazing. Romulan fighters actually look good. I'm not insane enough to want to play them in a tournament, but they look good.
Yeah, a friend of mine did kind of like a metallic dusting of them. It was so good. Like, I can't remember exactly what the material he used, but you dry brush this stuff on, and it's like almost like graphite powder the way it looks, and it doesn't stick to like the window paint, like the glossy painted parts, and it looks amazing. It's like it's the Teflon coat. It's like the stealth fighter. It's so cool.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so he did that to mine for me.
Oh, that's great. All right, but we're not here to talk about reprints or repaints, except the ones that come in Wave 25.
Yes. Well, in a sense, all three of them have been repainted in a sense.
Well, yes, the Galaxy class is now sparkly.
Oh, mine wasn't sparkly, it was just kind of shiny.
Okay, shiny, sparkly, 601. Regardless, it's different than the one that they show on the preview header on StarTrek.com, because that just looks like the Enterprise D.
Yeah, and like if you look closely at the picture, you kind of get the impression that it is the metallic, but the way they light it makes it look more like the original pale blue.
Yeah, which was not a good model.
But don't let it discourage you. You know, the paint job on this is actually quite good in my opinion. I rather enjoy it. Better than the other silvered ships.
Well, that's good to hear. I've actually enjoyed some of the silver ships. So, the Venture. It's a 4154 Galaxy. 2 crew, 2 weapon, and a tech slot.
Yes!
Should note that the generic loses a tech slot.
Yeah.
So, no generic Galaxy tech. Not that you were running generic Galaxies, but...
It matches the old generic.
Which is fine.
Yeah, it's just a shame because the whole point of it, you know, being fed and being advanced and being funky is it should have tech.
Yeah.
We get it with the Venture, so that's one step in the right direction.
Yes. Named ability. If you attack a ship that is in the forward firing arc of another friendly ship, you gain +1 attack die.
Nice.
I'm okay with that. It's a nice passive ability.
That you can control.
Yes, very much so. Put this in a fleet with other ships that have 180 firing arcs. It works even better.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing is there's no range restriction on those friendly ships, so they don't have to be within range 1 or anything.
Right.
You just have to be able to shoot at the same enemy ship.
So as long as they're within range 3 of that arc, because otherwise they're not considered in arc.
Right. But, you know, they could be coming at the enemy ship from the other direction. Mm-hmm. So you could conceivably be, like, range 5 or 6 from each other.
Right.
As long as you have that same enemy ship in range. So that's a nice way to get a 5th attack die, not spend an action. Mm-hmm. It works. I've seen better, but I've also seen this type of thing be an action. So I'll take it.
Anytime you get a +1 attack die for no cost, I'm happy. Because so many times you have to pay an action and maybe a disable or a discard or an ox or something else for 1 attack die, which in of itself is good, but with all those extra costs is worthless. So this is a great add-in ability. Unfortunately, we don't get the 360, which is inherent of the class, but this is the game, so oh well. But getting that extra +1 might make the difference.
You know what the nice thing here is? It doesn't have to be in your forward arc.
Yes.
So you can use dorsals on this or attack with photon or quantum torpedoes from your rear arc.
Yeah.
That gives you a bonus die. That's worthwhile. That makes this ability a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So, something to look out for.
In the off chance you want to pay the extra points and throw chronotons on there, an extra die is nice.
Sure.
Even though most Fed players are usually using the E for that.
Yes. But if you want to go that route, you can. You got to watch out. You got to go, okay, is this better than the Enterprise D? I don't know. I think it's very different. It's two different tactics.
Mm-hmm. From a slot line point of view, with the tech slot added, I would say yes, it's hands down better than the D pure stock. But comparing the ability, it all depends on how you intend to use it. So having the freedom of choice, the flexibility there, that's awesome. And being able to actually have more options for a Galaxy class, which is a great ship, at least in canon. In the game, it's been mixed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the captain of the USS Yamato is brought to us for the USS Venture. His name is Donald Varley. He's a 3-cost, 4-captain skill with a talent slot, and his ability reads, your ship may perform a scan action as a free action each round. Nice. It's cool to have some more free action economy captains out there. Great as like a second or third ring captain.
Yeah. I have a little trouble with him at skill 4 for 3 points, but I'm nitpicking there. I do like the ability. I like that he gives me a talent slot.
Yes, low cost talent slots are nice, especially when you're running a bunch of ships and you need that extra little nudge.
He's going to be that, second, third, fourth captain you need. I can see him getting a lot of play in those fun, big games when you just want an extra captain to do something, when you're recreating a huge Dominion War battle, or you're doing those like 500, 800, 1,000 point games, and he's going to get in there. I don't know how much play he's truly going to get, but if you need that extra action captain and you've got 3 points, I think he fits in very nicely. But a lot of times I'm going to try to find an extra point for Spock or 3 extra points for Picard.
Right. But if you're looking at, like, a fleet of 3 ships and you want to have killer action economy, you can have Picard 9 on your lead ship, Captain Spock on your second ship, and Varley on your third. So all 3 ships could do the scan action, and say your primary action could be a battle stations, so you can reduce your target by -1 defense die, and then you can get more effective economy on your dice rolls, or free up to do some other trigger ability like a Drex Nagaran concept, but fed range. You can run your Hikaru Sulu to boost your agility or whatever you need, and having a fleet with that free action economy can be quite powerful.
I'm with you there. He's that lower tier captain. He's kind of tier 2. He's not the top of the line, but there's nothing inherently bad about him other than the low skill. Solid captain, just not excellent.
Yeah.
Alright, so the elite talent. Galaxy Wing Squadron.
Say that 5 times real fast.
Yeah, I can't even say it once. It's unique, costs you 5 points. Action. Discard this card to target all friendly Galaxy-class ships within range 1 to 2. Target ships gain +1 attack die this round. Also, the sun must be shining, it must be a Tuesday, and you must be facing northeast, and your opponent must be wearing a blue shirt.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't mind so much that it's a discard. Fine. A disable would be nicer. Unique isn't really necessary for what it's giving, but okay. But the thing that really gets me is the fact that it doesn't target the ship that it's on. Like, if you're putting this on a Galaxy class ship and you've got 3 or 4 Galaxy class ships, it should be able to benefit all of them. Like, it should say all Galaxy class ships. Like, say on the table, or within range 1 to 2 or whatever, including this ship if Galaxy class.
Yep.
Yeah, like that alone put me off. Any other stuff I can accept, I can deal with, but the fact that it singles out your own ship and saying, nope, sorry, I'm not happy about that part.
How about, instead of action, discard this card at the start of the combat phase to same effect? It would have been better.
Yeah.
Because one extra attack die is not really worth the action. Even 2, 3 extra attack dice amongst your fleet, not really worth the action.
Well, if you got 3 out of it, I would say yes, it is. 2, it's never worth 1. 1 action for 1 die, never, ever, ever, ever. But if you were able to get 3 out of it, I'd say, okay, yeah, now we're getting somewhere. But in order to do that, you'd have to have 3 Galaxy class and then maybe something like a shuttle, or like either a Delta Flyer or a shuttle with someone with a talent slot putting this on there. That's the only way to get that out of it. And then by that point, you're running out of points. So you don't really have much room for anything else. So that is what makes this card not that great. In order to make it effective, it costs you way too much to set up.
Again, maybe in that big Dominion War recreational fun mission when you've got 800 points.
Absolutely.
And 5 points is like, oh yeah, sure, fine. I'm flying 8 Galaxy ships over on this side. Why not?
Yeah, there needs to be a balancing. When you've got a unique, an action, and a discard, that needs to credit you with some discounts on the base cost of the 5 for the talent. It's like, sure, set your template at 5 for all talents or whatever, and based on what it costs you to use it, knock it down. Like the fact that it's an action, knock it down to say 4. The fact that it's a discard, knock it down to say a 3 or a 2. Unique doesn't always necessarily warrant further discount, but at least give us some balance here, some give and take, right? Otherwise, it's just take. I just want to talk briefly about the Photon Torpedoes, even if it's just for the picture. It's like the picture on the top of the card. It's classic Next Generation. It's a beautiful shot of the underside of the saucer with the deflector dish and the nacelles. You've got the torpedo launching out. It's a beautiful image that it brings me right back to when I first watched the show. It's something else. And it
really is.
Yeah. And it's your standard Photon Torpedoes. It's your 5 attack, 5 cost, 2 to 3 range, 3 time tokens, so it's a time token torpedoes, and it gives you the single conversion of 1 battle station to a critical. Forward, rear firing.
But it's pretty.
Very pretty.
So, additional phaser arrays. Non-unique.
Hey.
Let's start there. After you make an attack with your primary weapon, you may disable this card to make an additional attack with your primary weapon at -2 attack dice.
Nice.
No ship can have more than 1.
Additional phasers array upgrade. Ooh.
Now, it's going to cost you 5 points. But here's the thing. It's an extra attack, which is fairly nice.
Mm-hmm.
Losing 2 dice, that can sting. If you're using this on the Venture, you're potentially looking at a 5 die shot and then a 3 die shot, or at range 1, maybe 6 and 4. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
Indeed, especially if you're attacking a ship with 1 or 0 defense dice.
Yeah.
You're at least likely to get 1 or 2 shots in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what you don't want to do is put this on something that's only got 4 attack dice. Because 4 and 2, not worth your investment.
There's a possibility of you getting one of those 2 dice as a hit, but odds are they're going to get at least 1 of 8 anyway.
Yeah.
One thing that this card is particularly good for is anti-fighters.
Yeah, very much so.
So it gives you lots of flexibility.
If you're putting this on a ship that's using Type 8 and upgraded, and you've got that extra weapon slot because Sakona's there and you're getting a discount, then this is a 3-point card, and I'm kind of going, well, why not?
Yeah, no kidding.
The thing you're going to have to contend with is the disable.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of times you're not going to have the action economy to re-enable this. So you're going to have to pick your spots.
Bide your time and use it when it's right.
Yeah, I don't think the right thing to do is to put Lozier on this to take the disable from it and work this whole like crew re-enabling thing. I just don't foresee that being... I don't think this card is good enough to warrant that whole circus. This is a nice way to get a couple of extra shots in a game.
Yeah.
And you just have to take it for that.
Yeah, so basically, boil that all down. In most games using this, you're probably only going to use it once, maybe twice, if you've got like a turnaround couple of rounds where you've got to come back around at each other and you have the opportunity to re-enable it. So, when building with this card, it's a really good card, but don't expect to be using it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a game.
Unless you just have so many bonus actions that you don't know what to do with them, then go ahead.
Yeah. But, you know, like if you've got captains like Picard 9, Spock, or in this case, Varley, you know, and all you want to do is their free action, then of course you've got an extra action kicking around and say, okay, sure, I'll re-enable this. So keep that in mind when building with it, and you might find it might be very effective.
Now, if this had a time token version, it would be better.
Yeah, true enough. But the other thing, too, is, like, I like good cards. I like that they give us neat things. They don't have to be perfect or uber-powered. Just give me some different options. Let me try different things. And there's all sorts of shenanigans that you can mess around, boosting primaries and all that. And anything that gives you an extra attack is gravy. You know, and usually that's the purview of the mirror ships. That's one of their strengths, is that they get a lot of cards that give you multiple attacks. So branching that into other factions is great. And the fact that this is not faction locked, it doesn't say Federation ship only. If you play in a mixed environment, yeah, you pay that 6th point and you can put it on any ship. So there you go.
Right.
And if you happen to buy a bunch of Ventures, like 2 or 3 of them, you slap it on all your ships, costs you a little bit. That's 6 attacks in one round with 3 ships. So if you're going for like a quick stamp, run in and stamp, you know, you're pounding them down, you might be able to do some severe damage in one round. So again, it depends on your tactics.
It really does. So you just have to be the judge of what's going to work best for you.
Yeah. All in all, I like it. Gets a thumbs up from me.
Cool.
All right. Tech time. Maximum warp. 5 cost. Action. If you performed a straight maneuver this round, you may disable this card to immediately perform an additional straight maneuver with a speed of 2 or less. You cannot perform any free actions this round. The card is non-unique. Okay, well, right off the bat, that line, you cannot perform any free actions this round. I really would like it to be reworded such that you cannot perform any more free actions this round. Like, it's an after effect. Because having to sort of pre-plan your round, you know, like, oh, you can't do things before or after. Granted, it happens in the activation step. This card isn't as tricky as, say, the ones that kick in during the combat phase. You know, the things that just make it messy. I like things to be straight forward, not backward, if you know what I mean.
I guess it's just saying, hey, it can't benefit from putting this on a ship with Picard 9.
Yeah, or even using, you know, like the Riker from the E or any of the other shenanigans.
Yeah, this is your one action.
Right.
But that being said, I don't know that that's worth it.
Yeah. It basically turns any ship into like another Prometheus. It's like, oh yeah, well you did the straight, you can do more. So it's just pushing your engines. So but realistically, I would have preferred it if it would say take an aux token. That to me would have been a better cost than you cannot perform free actions. Some people may not like that for some of their combinations or whatnot, but at least that way you could do a free action beforehand, then do this, have an aux, do a green maneuver on the following turn.
It's a different kind of cost, because
Yeah.
this way you lose your free actions this round, but your maneuvers aren't compromised next round.
Agreed.
So
I'm kind of going along with the theme of like going maximum warp. You're taxing the engines a little bit more. You're pushing them a little bit harder, which in game terms usually means you get an aux token. So I was trying to direct it more that way. And I like the ability to just sort of blast forward, especially if you're playing a joust tournament where you just want to get up, get ahead, and get in there. You know, and that's probably why they say you cannot perform free actions. It's to prevent people from just vaulting in, action, hammer, 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 right?
Yeah. Otherwise, you just set up with Voyager, do a 6 straight, and then a 2 straight, and you're basically into combat.
Yeah, you're like 7 inches or more right in there, aren't you?
Yeah. I guess the question I have at this point is, why would I ever run this instead of warp jump? And I don't have a good answer. I think I would rather completely remove myself from combat instead of being unable to take actions.
Yeah, they're two different things. One's more of an escape and or reposition. This is more likely used to get in there. Very rarely would I see this used at like maximum warp as an escape method. It's like, oh, I gotta outrun these guys, they're chasing me down. No, maximum warp is not the choice for that situation. Maximum warp to me is to get in there fast.
Which is really funny because they say in the preview article, sometimes getting away from an enemy is even more important than being able to attack, which is definitely not what maximum warp is.
Exactly. That's my point exactly. Yeah, like I've seen situations where, well, I've been in situations where I'm chasing down somebody and they're trying like the dickens to get away from me, and no matter what they do, they just can't get far enough away. Whether they turn, go straight, or whatever, I keep bearing down on them. And granted, this card might help them once in a blue. Basically, if you're running from someone, going far is just going to aim you right to the edge of the map, and you're going to end up cornering yourself. So to me, that's not a good use of it. Warp jump is great because you can position yourself. Your end location is completely up to you. But maximum warping that far, to me, is only useful if you're jousting.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, that's at least a reason.
I'm the kind of guy who would use it, so it's a great way to move more of your fleet ahead. I just wish you could put something like maximum warp on Fed fighters, because they're so slow.
Yeah. When their fastest move is a 3 bank, you know you have a problem.
Exactly.
Next up is High Capacity Deflector Shield Grid.
There's a mouthful.
Non-unique 5-point tech. If you have at least one active shield during the compare results step, you may discard this card to negate up to 2 damage. No ship may be equipped with more than 1 of this card. Because I'm not saying that whole thing all over again. So, it's 4 points of durability for 5 points. I'm okay with that.
Being a reactive discard is nice.
Yes.
So you don't have to prime it first by spending an action.
I still think I'd rather have Unimatrix shielding first. In every situation except for cards that bypass my shields.
Yeah.
Because this works against cards that bypass my shield.
You just have to have a shield. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't work against projected stasis field because that has disabled my shields.
Right.
But I'm okay there. Yeah. So I think in about 98% of builds, I would rather have Unimatrix shielding. But if I have room for 2 5-point techs, as far as durability goes, this is the next one I want.
Mm-hmm.
I think this card's reasonable. I definitely think it's accurately priced.
I'd be okay with it as a 4. That would make sense. Like cost for stat lines. Now, it's WizKid's tradition to add 1 extra point for that. But, I'm not arguing it.
Yeah.
There'd be nothing wrong with it at 4. 5 kind of pushes it in that range where it's like, well, should I take it or shouldn't I? But it's still valuable. If you're going for pure survivability and you've got some extra tech slots, then you can start stacking some.
Yes. So we got one last card. You want to bring us home, Nick?
All right. Our question mark non-unique upgrade, Computer Core. 5 cost. You can fill a crew or weapon upgrade slot with this upgrade. Add 1 tech upgrade slot to your upgrade bar. Action. You may re-roll any 1 die this round. For 5 cost, regardless of what the abilities are, I'm not too thrilled about that. Like, especially if you're only using it to add a slot. You're basically, you're converting 1 slot into a tech slot. So that alone, instead of just adding 1, you're converting, you're spending 1. You're already paying a price there, so that alone should lower the cost. And the ability, action, you may reroll any 1 die this round. That's something you have to preemptively, you have to plan and say, okay, I'm probably going to want to reroll something, so I'm going to spend the action now to do it later. I'm not really big on the whole precog abilities. Like, it's just...
Yeah.
No.
And action to reroll 1 die?
Yeah.
Ew.
Like, heck, for all those costs and everything, you could say, may re-roll 1 die per occurrence or something like that. Like, each time you roll dice this round, you may re-roll 1 die. That, to me, would be like, okay, I could actually consider that. So you can cover an attack and a defense or whatever. Or even just, if it says, during the combat round, each time you roll dice, you may re-roll 1. Just to limit it for certain other things, right?
Right, for every attack, for every defense. That would be okay.
Yeah. Or action when defending or when attacking, yeah. Or and when attacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and.
Yeah, definitely the and, not the or.
That way you're getting anywhere from 1 to 4, 5 uses out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be okay with that action. That might justify 5 points. 1 die? No.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Nope, bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and getting back to the slot thing, especially given the title, it's a computer core. Okay? It's something all ships should have. So to me, why does it even take a slot? Make it so it does not require a slot. Add a tech slot. And then the ability, and the 5 cost. That, I would find very acceptable.
It should be more like Delta Shift.
Kinda, yeah. Like, I would actually use this card.
It's the question mark upgrade that doesn't take a slot, that gives you something.
There's too many costs to this card to make it worth playing. It's got some interesting concepts that feel like they're fledgling. They're not fully formed. So this card needs to evolve in order to be something that would be worth using.
Yeah, jeez. So what they've said here is Eric Motts is a 2-point crew that gives you a tech slot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't really have a weapon that gives you a tech, but systems upgrade is very similar.
Yeah.
Except that also gives you a shield. And that can fill a weapon slot. That's a 2-point card.
Yeah.
So what we've said here is the action of re-rolling any one die for the rest of the round is equivalent to at least a 3-point ability, and I laugh at that.
Absolutely.
Because you can't even use this on the one die you'd want to re-roll, Warp Core Breach.
Yeah.
At best, you're using this to re-roll a minor explosion?
Yeah.
Or maybe an evade die, I guess?
Yeah.
Maybe you've moved early, so you're re-rolling somebody's Golma Dread? That doesn't seem...
Yeah.
Nah.
The most useful times for this would be things you can't plan for, stuff that opponents do to you. So in which case you wouldn't be bringing this.
Right.
Yeah.
Not gonna see play.
Yeah. Nice ideas, dud implementation. Overall,
a very playable pack. I like the Venture.
Mm-hmm. I
like Varley. I really like additional phasers.
Me too.
And I'm even okay on high capacity shield grid.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on it completely, but I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could see play at some point.
If you want to try a killer joust strategy with, like, say, a Prometheus, an Enterprise E, and maybe either a generic Sovereign or some other big ship, Maximum Warp might be handy for a one-off, get in there and see what we can do sort of deal, especially if you've got high captain skill. Just get 3 attacks, boom, 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 right off the bat. It might be worth playing to get their main ship taken down in the first round of combat. So, it has some value.
It's easier to use than Picard Maneuver.
True. And I've used that to some great ability.
Yes. So if you've messed around with Picard Maneuver, then Maximum Warp is up your alley.
Yes. And hey, anybody that's listened to Nick's Intermix knows that I like maneuvers, especially extra ones.
Yes. So this is a solid pack. Mm-hmm. Anytime you get 3 cards that are at least playable, and I think there's 3 cards that are playable for just about anybody.
Yes.
And quite possibly a 4th, depending on who you are, we're good.
For the record, I've already purchased 2 of them.
For the record, I have one that should be in on Wednesday. Or by the time this goes to air, will have been in on Wednesday. How's that for time travel? My store gets stuff a little late.
No.
I don't begrudge them.
Yeah, so all in all, if you're a Federation player, if you like the Galaxy, or if you want a couple cool upgrades and that, this is a good, valuable pack. It's at least worth buying once. Buying 2 or 3 times if you particularly find use for the non-unique upgrades in it.
Yeah, and I don't know that I'm at that point yet, but we'll see.
Hey, for additional phaser arrays alone, I'm good for 2 or 3 of these puppies.
Now for a reprint. Wave 0 had the IKS Negh'Var. And ever since then, it's been a ship that a lot of players have wanted more of.
It's a big, powerful ship.
Although not all that much more powerful than the Vorcha.
True.
Which is kind of sad.
Yeah. But that said, until recently, we only had the one retail Vorcha, and that was in the starter. So if you wanted more than one, you had to shell out another $30-40 plus, you know. And that's just to get another generic ship. Where, at least with the Negh'Var being out so early, hey, now you got 2 powerful Klingon ships.
Yes. Also, an amazing captain.
Oh, so. Absolutely. Well, we'll get to him in a little bit.
Yes. So, the Negh'Var. 5163. Crew, weapon tech.
Nice.
30 points, which is fine.
For the stat line, that's pretty good.
Yes. The named ability on this thing. Action. Target a ship within your firing arc at range 1 to 2 and roll 3 attack dice. For each hit result, disable one of that ship's shields. If possible, you may play Klingon Boarding Party as a free action this turn.
Nice.
So, to fully grasp it, we'll have to talk about Klingon Boarding Party. But on the face of it, it's an action that potentially lets you lower your enemy's shields, which is a fairly decent action.
It's like a temporary effect second attack, or preemptive attack, really.
Now, I haven't run much of the named Negh'Var. When I ran it, I ran the generic.
Mm-hmm.
But, the named is a reasonable ability.
Yeah, it's pretty handy, and we should probably inject the Klingon Boarding Party now, just for context.
Sure, you want to go with that?
Alright. It's a non-unique crew for 5 cost. Action. If your ship is not cloaked, disable all your remaining shields and target a ship at range 1 to 2 that is not cloaked and has no active shields. So if you've knocked out the shields through that other ability, you can use this guy for free. It also states, discard this card to disable all upgrades and remove all battle station tokens on the target ship. Wow. How about that for a 1-2 punch before you've even fired a shot?
That's pretty darn good 1-2 punch.
Oh yeah, so if you're starting off and it's a ship that doesn't have many shields to begin with and you're able to knock them all out, great. But this is probably more like a second round of combat kind of thing. So you've already fired some shots, you've weakened their shields a little bit. The next round, you do the ship ability, you hopefully knock out the rest of their shields or disable them, and then you can throw the Klingon Boarding Party for free, disabling all their upgrades and removing any battle station tokens they might have. So, given that this is triggered from an action point of view, you want to have this on a high captain skill ship, so they've already placed their battle station token. That's the best way to get the good use out of the Klingon Boarding Party.
Yeah. But trying to get super high captain skill with Klingons wasn't that easy back then.
Agreed.
Now a lot easier with Crew Wharf that buffs your Klingon captain by 3.
Yeah, so while it's tricky to have the highest captain skill, especially if you're facing off against someone like Picard 9, starter Picard, Klingons, usually the best you have is like Martok here at 8. But fortunately, times have changed and there's more options and flexibility. Whether it's through Admiral boost or a Fleet Captain boost if you're still using those, or Wharf like David said there.
Yeah, lots of ways to boost things up. So,
absolutely.
Captain Martok. Martok 8. Most people's favorite Martok.
Yeah.
5 points, unique of course, with a talent. After you move, choose one friendly ship within range 1 to 2 whose captain has a lower skill than Martok's. The chosen ship may immediately perform one free action.
Haha, beautiful.
Very beautiful. Now, things to note about that target ability. The ship has to legally be able to perform an action, so they can't have an aux power, they can't have bumped that round, they can't have done something that says no more free actions, stuff like that.
Precisely.
But for the most part, this is, hey, give a ship another action. And that's a great thing. Martok was part of a lot of regional builds back in 2015. He sits on like a Romulan science vessel or scout vessel and just gives out a bonus action.
He's a top-tier Klingon captain, bar none.
He's a top-tier captain. Forget the Klingon part.
That's for sure.
And that's what makes him great. Top-of-the-line guy and nothing against him whatsoever.
Yeah, because it's not limiting them to action bar actions. It can be any action on the ship, whether it's on a crew, on a tech, on anything.
Yeah, just has to be an action they haven't already done, so you can't re-enable 2 things and all that other stuff that everybody knows.
Yes, you could use it to re-enable, but it can't be something that's already been done that turn.
Yep.
Yeah, following all standard rules.
I feel like Martok gets all the glory from this pack as the captain, But the other captain in this pack is not half bad.
No. And that's our Klingon High Council leader, Galron. Naturally also unique. He's a 4-cost, 6 captain skill, and his action is this. All other friendly Klingon ships within range 1 to 2 of your ship gain +1 attack die this round.
Which was very, very good early on because people would run like triple Klingon fleets.
Yes.
I think the thing that hurts him is that he doesn't have a talent slot.
Yeah, no talent slot, and the ability is much like the Galaxy Wing, where it doesn't affect your own ship. So it's +1 attack die, action, and it's potentially all ships except yours. So it's written almost exactly like that card.
Yeah. And I think the thing that might be hurting him now is that the Admiral Galron is quite possibly much, much better.
Yeah, the new Admiral Galron is kind of like the Mendak for Klingons. It gives you the battle stations option. And, if on a Klingon ship with a Klingon captain, you can immediately get an extra action for free from the action bar. That's pretty killer powerful. He doesn't add any captain skill to your group. It's a +0, but the ability alone is pretty epic.
Yeah, he adds a talent slot, which is crucial for somebody like Worf.
Absolutely. Adding an admiral with a talent slot to a captain that doesn't have a talent slot is a great way to balance things out, especially if you really want that captain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some good captains here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we do get an elite talent, and that is Incha.
Ha!
It's non-unique, as the talents in Wave 0 were. And that led to some very fun shenanigans, and you too can now have those fun shenanigans for the low, low price of 1 expansion set.
Woo!
It's 5 points. Action. Discard this card to perform 1 additional maneuver of your choice this round.
Caveat being, of course, it would have to be one that's on your maneuver dial.
Right. But for an action, do a move, it's a reasonable thing.
Yeah, so basically you can use it for anything but a red maneuver that's already been done. So you could do a regular maneuver, spend an action, and then do a red maneuver, like a come about.
If you had a way to soak the Ox power.
Well, I
think you could.
Well, you could do it as your second choice being the red maneuver. As long as...
No, even the first one.
True, not as common on Klingon pure ships though.
No,
especially for the time.
I think actually impossible on Klingon pure.
yeah.
But mixed, you could do it with some Vulcan or even the aid of a good Scotty card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Incha's pricey, but very flexible, and that's a great thing.
Yeah. Shame it's a discard, but it's very handy. It's still worthwhile, especially if you put it to good use.
Yeah. Hate to think what it would do if it wasn't a discard, though.
Action discard 5 points. Yeah, it would have to be like a hefty time token or disable for the same points kind of thing to even be close. Otherwise, it would be pretty scary.
Or a lot more expensive.
Well, you got to consider that there are so many other cards that can grant you extra movements, but this one gives you carte blanche, any movement that's available to you. It's not like your Admiral Force that gives you a 1 maneuver, straight bank turn.
And that's the thing, giving you essentially another dial is what makes this scary.
Yeah, like if you're not going fleet pure, you could throw this on something like the Voyager or the Prometheus, whatever. You could do 2 6s in a row. Right? Or a 6 and then a turn. It's pretty insane crazy. Especially, let's say you're starting your ship at an angle. You're starting at, say, a 45-degree angle to one side. You're vaulting ahead 6, and then you're going to turn right, say a hard 3 or something. You can come in and you could be flanking your enemy. That's pretty scary.
That is. That's very, very scary.
There's a tactic for you, folks. And next up, one of the best crew cards for Klingons, or potentially any faction, especially the ones that don't have battle stations. We're looking at Drex. 4-cost crew, unique, action. When attacking this round, you may convert one battle station result into one critical result, and all your other battle station results into hit results. Yeah, this is better than a battle stations. Only for attacks, but getting that crit in there, so nice.
Yeah, and the great thing is this works if you make multiple attacks. You still only get that one crit, but he keeps converting battle stations into hits on subsequent attacks.
Yes.
Which really makes it better than a battle station token, even just on offense.
Absolutely. And if you haven't got the Negh'Var the first time around, you really want to get this, even if it's just for Drex.
Well, some people had in Garen from the Karaga.
Yeah, I was actually just getting to that. It's like, well, you're going to want to buy the Negh'Var and the Karaga to get Drex and Garen, because that'll cover 2 of your ships, and they're just amazing. Like, I can't tell you how many times I built Klingon fleets of 3 ships where 2 of them have your Drex and Garen on them. They're just phenomenal. And if you got your Admiral Galron, you got your 3rd one. So all 3 of your ships can effectively have a battle station effect. So, pretty brutal with Klingon power.
Yes. And of course, there are Photon Torpedoes here. They're still the disable ones.
This is a re-release, not a repainted model with a new ship card. This isn't like the Venture.
You know, I wouldn't have minded if they had changed the Photon Torpedoes to be a time token version of the boosted Negh'Var, but I have a feeling those might show up in Klingon Civil War.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. I'm saying that I just have an inkling.
I would have really been thrilled if they made it like a flipper card, one side or the other, or just bring 2 different versions of the card. You know, say, we'll give you both. I actually appreciate that they keep disabled versions on the old ones. I know all the new ones, as far as I know, are going to be time tokens. It gives you the option and flexibility, because with time tokens, you simply have to wait or add time token shenanigans to get them to use sooner. But with disable, through extra actions or things like Losure and that, you can make better use of these ones. So I like that we have more than one option.
Right. No conversion.
No.
That's what hurts it.
Yeah, but it's 6 dice instead of 5. But with no modification. You have to pay for the target lock and spend it. So, realistically, I would love a crew or a tech card or something that's either independent or neutral or some sort of thing that just basically says, when spending a target lock to fire a secondary weapon, not specifying photon torpedoes, that you may keep it. You don't have to spend it.
Yeah. Either rolling a die for it or disable the card to do it or something like that.
Yeah. Like if on your initial roll you get 2 or less hit or crits or something like that, you may act as if you still have a target lock or something like that, or you may re-roll remaining dice. Whichever, getting creative. But anyway, that's a sidetrack. Sure. Yeah.
All right. And the last card in the pack is Tractor Beam. That's our 3-point non-unique tech. And it says action. Target a ship at range 1 and roll 2 attack dice. For every hit result, that ship rolls 1 less defense die against your next attack. And that is the attack that the ship that activated Tractor Beam makes against that ship.
Right. It doesn't help attacks from your other fleet members.
Yeah. So it's essentially an action to maybe scan twice, maybe scan once, or maybe not scan at all.
I would rather use the ship ability. You know, because you get 3 dice, it's range 1 to 2, instead of 2 dice at range 1. And you got shield disable, which can help your entire fleet. You know, this is Yeah. Honestly, I think maybe I used this back in the day when I first got the ship, and then never again. And I can't even promise that I
Yeah.
used it once.
And the only thing that I would like to see on something like this, and kind of all cards like this, the phrase minimum of 1.
Yeah, so you're guaranteed to at least get some benefit from it.
Yeah, because you're spending your action. I understand you're rolling dice, and there's an inherent risk there. But you're spending your action to do something that's not super game-breaking.
Yeah, it's like 1 defense die is not going to make or break the battle, in general. Often it comes down to, the winner being whether or not the target gets one more evade or not. But overall, defense dice have such poor percentage of actually resulting in an evade that it's rarely a big deal.
Right.
Like, how many times have you played a cloaking ship like a Scimitar, rolling 6 dice, and then getting, no evades, or maybe 1?
Far too many.
Exactly.
It's why I don't run cloakers.
Yeah, and so reducing them by 1, or maybe 2, you might as well do a scan. But granted, Klingons, Romans, they don't have scan natively on most of their ships. So it kind of makes sense why they'd have this. But why not just make Tractor Beam a card that just gives you a scan token? Place a scan token, roll an attack die. If you get a hit result, place a second scan token. That would be a way to guarantee a minimum of 1.
Yeah.
That to me would be worthwhile.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Negh'Var. If you don't have it, I think we say you gotta get it.
Yeah, if you play Klingons and you don't have this ship, you need to get this ship. You need to get the pack, because you get one of the best captains in the game, you get a great ship, you get one of the best crew in the game for Klingons or even Romulans, plus a few other cards that are interesting, which may or may not be useful depending on how you play.
Yeah. And the generic Negh'Var is a fairly interesting ship as well.
Yeah.
Galron's a nice support captain, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like this pack has been outdated.
No, absolutely not. It's still relevant today.
Yeah, I mean, Inshaw's probably not as good as it once was, but there's still some fun shenanigans to pull off with it.
I think it's not so much that it's not as good as it once was, it's just long forgotten in favor of newer combos and ideas. When people jump back to the past like this and pull up some of these old cards, you can catch people by surprise, like, wow, I did not expect that, and you take them down as a result. So it's a great idea to mix things up and not be so predictable. This is one of the ways to do that.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, and on the merits of the ship itself, granted, it doesn't have much for shields, but if you're playing it as a cloaking ship, it's got 6 hull, and you're not losing as much value by keeping it cloaked, because you're not disabling 4, 5, or 6 or 8 shields like if you were cloaking a cube or something, Yeah. So you've got 6 hull with 5 defense dice when you're cloaked. That's pretty awesome. So even if you go the generic ship, you're down to 2 shields. You're losing even less. You're at 28-point ship, cloaking with all those benefits. You're like a 5.560 while cloaked. That's awesome.
That is really good.
Yeah. So even from a generic ship point of view, gotta get this ship, man.
But I hear you asking, isn't there something out there that does it better than the Negh'Var? Why, yes, there is. That would be the Scimitar.
Yeah. One of my favorite ships in the game.
I've seen too many Scimitars to really enjoy it. Yet I bought a second one.
I bought a second one back in January, just so I had extras. And yeah, I see way too many people, even in my group, flying Scimitars all the time, so I don't play it very much. But my dad, who's a mid-level experienced player, he's not a pro, but he's not a beginner either. He's a pretty good player. Numerous times he's won tournaments against much more experienced players flying double Scimitars. They're pretty powerful. They're hard to beat. So you definitely want to give it some good go.
Yeah, I had to get a second one for campaign purposes, but that is to be revealed. Got to keep people interested.
Yeah.
So you want to lead us off with what the Scimitar has?
All right. The Scimitar, 38-point Romulan unique Riemann warbird. 6 attack, 2 agility, 7 hull, 4 shields. After you attack while cloaked, you may place an auxiliary power token beside your ship to keep your cloak token from flipping to its red side. 2 tech, 2 weapon, 1 crew. Wow, that's pretty solid. And it's got that built-in stay cloak ability, which it's even better than the advanced cloak tech card, because that one you have to choose before you actually perform your attack whether or not you're going to take that ox and stay cloaked. This one you can decide after you attack, so you can wait to see what the result of the attack was and then decide whether or not to take the ox and stay cloaked. That's pretty killer.
Yeah, it's a very interesting timing distinction.
Absolutely. Very important, and it's something that has come up on numerous occasions. Keep that in mind. It can make or break a tournament. I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And a Romulan ship with 2 tech slots, gravy. I love it. I love it. So many things you can use and abuse on this ship.
Sadly, most people put double interface generators on it, and that just makes me cry.
Yeah, well, it's the Romulan version of like an Equinox, I guess.
I guess. It's just like the one time you punch through 6 defense dice, you're like, I'm finally going to do damage. I'm just taking 1 hit. Then you do it again. I'm just taking 1 hit. Now they still have 5 hull, and they still have 6 defense dice, and you're like, I'm not getting through that. And then you finally get through some of it, and then they drop cloak, and now you have 4 shields and the remaining hull to get through.
Yeah.
I'm not bitter. I promise.
But,
okay, I'm probably bitter.
But the other thing, cheese-wise, to fear is double cloaked mines. So if you've got a bunch of Romulan ships throwing a ton of cloaked mines out, they could blanket the board, and that's just scary/cheesy.
Yeah, but I worry more about Praetus and the smaller ships that have 3 tech slots that can do that. I'm not so worried about Scimitars. I mean, I am, because they are big beat sticks that can do it, but if somebody really wants all the tech slots, they're running the little dinker ships.
Yeah, or just add Tyrrell from the DS9 card pack, and then you got a 3rd tech slot.
Yeah, and a not terrible ability for a solid cloaking
No.
Not a great ability, but not a terrible one either.
It's kind of like a Romulan version of like enhanced hull plating, in a sense.
It's okay, let's see what you roll, and then if it's not that bad, I can kind of adapt to it.
Right.
So
I love being given the choice. But that's another card pack.
Mm-hmm. I think regardless, we both say, yeah, the Scimitar's a very solid named ship.
Absolutely. And this came out, what, Wave 9?
Oh,
yeah, I believe it was Wave 9. So while the Klingons got their beast, the Negh'Var, in Wave 0, it took 9 more waves before the Romulans got their beast.
Yeah, November of 2014.
Yeah, as opposed to early, 2013? Or was it mid-2013?
Mid-2013.
Yeah, mid-2013 for the Wave Zeros. Yeah.
So a year and a half, basically.
Yeah. Hey, even just going to a year, that's a long time for Romulans to have a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
It basically turned around the faction. Once the faction had the Scimitar, it actually had a shot.
Yes. So that brings us to her captain. And that is, of course, Shinzon.
Tom Hardy.
Skill 9, unique with a talent slot, costs you 6 points. During the Gather Forces step of setup, instead of purchasing an elite talent upgrade as normal, you may spend 4 points to place up to 4 Romulan talents face down besides Shinzon. They stay face down until you decide to use one of them, and when you do, you get that one and you discard the other 3. You know, Shinzon's interesting in that you kind of have 4 tools in your toolbox and you get to figure out which one fits best.
Yes.
Or you know what tool you want and it costs you 5 points, so you spend 4 on it instead.
Yeah. So either way, it's pretty nice. And this pack does come with 3 different elite talents. So right out of the gate, you're getting a few options. So add to that what you have from your starter kit and any other Romulan ships that you may have picked up, or if you play mixed faction, any other elite talent. You've got quite a bit to choose from.
But Shinzon can only hide Romulan talents, so that's
right. I caught myself midway and just kept going. Yeah, so any other Romulan ships. There's plenty of Romulan talent options. Some of them are quite good. Like counterattack is a handy one in a pinch. If you think you're going to get that one through, it's not one you always want to bring, but it's nice to have as an option. It's a good one to pop in there.
I like make them see us. That one's fun to hide, at least.
I don't know if I've ever actually used that one.
Yeah, that's from the Hakona.
Yeah.
So, slightly newer.
Yeah, I bought like 3 or 4 of that ship pack. three, I think. Yeah, just 3.
But yeah, there's some decent Romulan talents. It's tough. They're a faction that's lacking truly great talents. They have solid ones, but there's none that make me stand up and go, oh yeah, that's the one I want all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, like they've got a lot of garbage talents and a bunch of good ones, like you say, but none that are just like, wow, powerhouse, must have.
Yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy.
And, like a lot of the old ships, we have another captain for you, and that is Shinzon's Viceroy. It's a 3-cost, 5-captain skill, unique captain. At the start of the game, place 2 mission tokens on this card. During the planning phase, after all other ships have chosen their maneuvers, you may discard one of the mission tokens from this card to target a ship at range 1. Look at that ship's maneuver dial, and then select your maneuver. The target ship cannot change its chosen maneuver after you look at it.
It's a solid ability. It's kind of nice to know where your opponent's going and then get to decide what you're doing.
Especially given that it's a lower captain skill, it will help ensure that you don't bump them. And it can also help you position yourself best. It's like, okay, that's where they're going to go, so if I do this, I can get at them and not be in their arc. Right? So preventing bumping, fine-tuning arc alignment, those are 2 great reasons to use this ability. The fact that it doesn't cost you an action, it's merely reactive. You get to do it twice in a game, so there's no discard talent kind of function on it. It's built into the captain. Not bad.
Yeah, or you can even make them bump you.
Exactly.
Which is also a fun thing to do. I mean, you'll still get shot, but maybe you can survive that shot and then they're messed up on their actions. So.
Exactly.
But wait, there's even more.
What?
We get an admiral.
Ooh.
Now, Hirin is a skill 2 captain, but he's also a +1 admiral. And it's kind of nice that he's a skill 2 captain because that makes him a 1-point card.
And that always transfers over to the admiral side. So a 1-cost +1 admiral? Nice.
Yes. Now, his action or fleet action is disable one of your crew upgrades to gain +1 attack die this round. Yeah. Not so good.
No. Well, his point cost as a +1 Admiral cannot be disputed. It's a great card for that alone. How many times have you had a fleet build where you've got 1 or 2 or more points left over at the end and you can't really squeeze in one more great card? Why not boost your captain skill an extra notch?
Yeah. And for 1 point, this is the way to do it.
Especially if you can't afford Mendak or he's not really essential to your build.
Mm-hmm.
And, some cases, a +1 Admiral for other factions might cost, a lot. So for 4 points, or if you're using Officer Exchange Program, you can get a cheap +1 in other factions.
Oh, well, a free +1.
True.
So, sadly, he doesn't bring a talent slot with him.
No. But for the cost, it's hard to argue.
Yeah.
You'd have to be Q.
That would be asking for my cake and to be able to eat it too.
Self-replicating cake. Well, we talked about all those elite talents for Romulans. Now we've got a few to go through here. I'll start us off with Attack Pattern Shinzon Theta. 5 cost unique talent. During the deal damage step of the combat phase, if you hit your opponent's ship, you may discard this card to add 1 additional damage to that ship's shields, if possible, for every uncancelled critical result. Lots of conditions, the toughest one being that it only affects shields. So if you've already punched through their shields and they've got hull left, the card's useless. But if it's a ship with tons of shields, this can help you chew through them.
So what you're telling me is that this is the perfect card to hide under Shinzon.
Yeah, it's a good one to have just in case, because you can reveal it and use it right away.
And if it never happens, then you don't lose anything.
Right.
As for any other situation, I don't think I'd ever pay 5 points for that just because of the conditions that are there.
Exactly. It's a great hidden talent for no additional cost, but as is standalone, you're not likely to ever bring this puppy.
Yeah. Although, if I know that I'm facing Borg for sure,
yes,
that's a decent thing. Though, fun story, when I ran the Mega Cube, I never took a crit. Random coincidence, but never took a crit to my shields, never took a crit to my hull.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is not only is it only useful against shields, but you have to actually roll criticals for it to do anything. So there's a lot of conditionals, and that unfortunately makes it not worthwhile.
Yeah, that's the tough thing.
Yeah, when it works, it can be powerful, which is probably why you could almost justify the 5 cost and the discard, but the fact that it might completely flub and you might never even get to use it for an entire game, and possibly even an entire tournament. It just may never line up. It's not really that valuable of a card. You can't count on it to do anything.
And anything that's that situational is not worth a 5-point investment.
No, not at all.
Next up is Target Weapon Systems. So it's a 3-point unique talent. If you damage an opponent's hull with a crit, you may immediately discard this card to search the damage deck for a munitions failure or a weapons malfunction card instead of drawing a random damage card. And then, of course, reshuffle the damage deck when you are done. So, because I don't remember what all the damage cards do by their title, munitions failure is immediately choose one of your secondary weapon upgrades and discard it, then flip this card face down. And weapons malfunction is reduce your primary weapon value by 1 to a minimum of 0. And for an action, you can roll an attack die on a hit or crit. You get to get rid of the crit.
Get rid of it or flip it over? Okay.
Flip it over.
Right. Yeah, so it actually has the potential to be a pretty nasty talent.
Yes, especially the munitions failure.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can get rid of Type 8, upgraded phasers. Those are very annoying cards.
Mm-hmm. Chronotons, magnetometric guided charges. Any scary secondary weapon you could toss out with this. The caveat, of course, is you don't get to choose if they have multiples.
Right, and that's what really hurts.
Yeah.
For sure, people aren't carrying multiple secondary weapons that they don't need. So if you take something out, it's going to hurt them.
Yeah, so you might be taking out either a magnetometric or a dorsal or chronoton or whatever. Like, even when they're pairing things up, well, I've got one scary and another different one. They put it in there for good reason. They've valued those points. So, you, like David said, you're going to hurt them one way or the other. You're going to take them down a notch.
The thing you're probably going to run into more often than not is that people don't have secondary weapons. But that's where the weapons malfunction comes in, and you're reducing their primary, and that's going to help.
And that's where I like these sort of conditionals. It's like, well, if they got a secondary that you don't like, you can go this way. If they don't have, you can go the other way. You've got some flexibility, so it makes this card valuable no matter what. And especially at 3 points, this is a pretty solid talent. It's not a game-changing, world-ending talent, but it's almost there. It's like a tier 1.5 for me.
Oh, it is only 3 points, so that gives you a lot of good flexibility.
Absolutely. And how many times for most factions do you get a useful talent that costs less than 5 points? Typically only with Romulans, and there again, their talents aren't the greatest, but hey, 3 points. Solid notch.
There's a couple of others, but not many.
Right.
It's definitely the exception to the rule.
Mm-hmm. Well, next one up. Have you ever played a game and you wished your ship would just be able to not move at all? Well, Now you can. It's a 3-cost, unique talent called Full Stop. During the activation phase, after you reveal your chosen maneuver, you may discard this card to ignore that maneuver and not move. You may still take an action during the perform action step. Nice. Love it. I wish it wasn't unique, because I really see no point to it being unique. But at the time, they didn't really have the concept of limit 1 per ship, so that's probably why they labeled it as such. So if I were to revise this card, I would make it non-unique, limit 1 per ship, and this would be an even better card. That said, very rarely have I ever seen anyone use this card. Great potential, lots of potential there, but there's just so many other options.
Right. From the simplest application of, oh, I don't like that move, I'm going to crash, to, oh, wait. If I move there, I don't have a shot, and I'm going to get shot at by 3 ships.
Right.
There's lots of good potential.
Yeah, and another thing, too, is if you're at the edge of range 3, you've got a torpedo solution, for example. Let's say you're doing chronotons or plasma torpedoes or something funky. Or any weapon that has, say, a limit to range 2 and 3. You do a full stop, and if they're going slowly, you actually have a chance of shooting them again at, say, range 2. You don't have to go right into range 1. You know? So you have the option. Yeah. If you want the range 1, you could certainly take it. You get the boost, but like David says, you might end up out of range. You may end up out of arc. All sorts of things happen. This gives you movement flexibility, and regardless of how many powerful other upgrades there are in the game, your position relative to your enemy is the most important factor in the game. I don't care how strong your attack is. If you can't shoot, it's useless. If they can shoot you and you can't shoot back, or if they can shoot you first, it doesn't matter. So anything that controls where you are on the table is far more powerful than some people seem to understand. So take a good, strong look at this card and think about that when deciding what to choose.
Well, that's a good reason to run Full Stop. So now we get one crew, and that's Reman Boarding Party.
I sense a theme.
Yeah, it's Reman ship. It all kind of works.
Well, just
out.
that we had the Negh'Var Klingon boarding party, now we have the Reman boarding party. Nice little bit of synergy.
Now we need to get a reprint of the Gorn so we can get Gorn raiding party, and then the Vidians for the Vidian boarding party.
And the Kazons.
No, that's a raiding party.
Yeah, close enough. It's tomato.
Something completely... No, it's completely different. That's a raiding party, not a boarding party. Haven't you... No, totally different words. If they wanted it to be a boarding party, they would have said boarding party, not raiding party.
It's a boarding
this whole
party.
Thing gets...
It's a boarding party that's raiding while they're there.
Next thing you're telling me is that somebody's going to a LARPing party.
Eee.
Alright, Riemann boarding party, 4-point, non-unique. Action, if your ship is not cloaked, disable all of your remaining shields and target a ship at range 1 to 2 that is not cloaked and has no active shields. Discard this card and disable all upgrades on the target ship.
Very similar to the Klingon boarding party, just leaves off the removed battle stations.
Yeah, saves you a point.
Mm-hmm. Still a worthy card if you get into the situation where their shields are down. The common argument to the cards that take effect only when they're not cloaked and have no shields is by the time they're at that point, they figure, oh, well, you might as well just get one more attack in and kill them. What's the point of disabling them? But where this is handy in those situations is, well, what if they've got a bunch of defensive cards like Hikaru Sulu, Hood Riker, and all that buff up their defense to make it hard to finish them off? This is a great way to take care of that. Because the nice thing about disabling is it doesn't matter whether it's an action trigger, an event trigger, or whatever. They're disabled. They functionally have no text, so they're useless.
Oh, yeah. I ran a super tiny prize at one point that had a bunch of shields. And then once you got through all of that, it had enhanced hull plating. And it was running protocol for Double Evade. And so by the time you got through the shields, there was almost no way you could kill it.
Yeah.
Riemann boarding party or another boarding party would have done it because it would have disabled everything. And that hurts it a lot. Yeah,
all you have left at that point is your ship, your captain, and maybe an admiral if you have one on board.
Right, and because it's the tiny prize, it has so many Ox power tokens, but it doesn't need to do any other actions other than the action bar. Mm-hmm. But if everything's disabled, it's going to be a long time before it can re-enable anything. And by that point, you can probably kill it.
Absolutely.
So, that's not necessarily an argument to bring all of these cards, but it's an argument to at least look into stuff like it.
Yeah, especially if you're facing consistently ships with upgrades that make it difficult for you to compete. Take a look at some of these, see which ones might actually help you out. It's okay, well, they've got some stuff that's getting in my way. How am I going to curb that? You're usually looking at things like the Gull Madrid to take care of their captains. Some of these kind of cards take care of their upgrades. You know, there's always a way. You just have to be willing to dig around, experiment, and try them out.
Right. It's called knowing the people you play against.
Right.
Knowing what you're up against. And if you find that these kinds of things are necessary, then go for it. Mm-hmm. And if you find that they're not, then don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Unless you want to be the curveball into your meta. Then have fun with that.
Yeah. So I think we can safely skip over the Photon Torpedoes. They're your standard 5 disables, but it gets the +2 attack for Riemann Warbirds.
Yeah. Which really at +1 with no rear arc, you're not running.
Yeah, exactly.
Not for 6 points.
not especially not on a ship that already fires 6, 7 at range 1.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to Thaleron Weapon. Scary, maybe? We'll see. It's a 10-cost unique weapon that gives you 10 attack dice for range 2 to 3. Attack. Discard this card to perform this attack. During the deal damage step of the combat phase, assign each uncancelled hit or crit result to the captain card or one upgrade of opponent's choice on the target ship. discard the captain, and all the crew upgrades on the target ship assigned a hit or a crit, and cancel those results afterward. So essentially that means for each one of those that was successfully discarded, those hits or crits were used up. They do not apply to the ship. If there are any additional unassigned hit or crit results remaining, they damage the ship as normal, up to a maximum of 5 damage. This upgrade may only be purchased for a Reman Warbird. So it's another great way to flush out those cruise liner ships with mega crew, like the Tiny Prize with 4 crew slots, like the Robinson with 4 crew slots, and so on and so forth. So it's mixed effectiveness. I've seen it work brilliantly, and I've seen it completely flub. It's 10 dice, so it feels really good in that way, but it also costs you 10 points. So it's one of those things that you better make damn sure that it's going to work, because that's a lot of points to throw into it.
Yeah, as in, you better have a target lock before you fire this weapon.
Right.
Because this does not spend a target lock.
No.
It doesn't even require having one.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're rolling 10 dice, you want to have some form of quality.
Right, so if you've got Mendak to get yourself a battle stations, that goes a long way. If you have any captains or crew that allows you to convert a blank into a hit or re-roll it all, like I believe, was it Toreth that allows you to convert a blank into a hit?
No, a hit into a crit.
Hit into a crit, okay, so it wouldn't be as useful in this case. But any card with that thought in mind, where it converts blanks or allows you rerolls, would really go a long way. Because with no dice quality otherwise, like you said, you're going to want a target lock or a battle stations from Mendak to make this actually pull off. Because you've got a bunch of ship and crew, or captain and crew to go through, and then, you know, shields and hull. You can only do a maximum of 5 damage with this too. So don't expect to be blowing ships away in one shot with this puppy unless they're small, weak, or nearly dead.
Right, but even getting rid of their captain and crew, that will help a lot in terms of being able to kill that ship on the next round.
Like Gul Madred, taking out their captain is a phenomenal thing to be able to do, because not only do you take out their captain and the captain's ability, you knock their captain skill down to 1, you eliminate their ability to use their talents unless they have them through other means, like an admiral that will pop down or other things like that. And even then, with Phaleron weapon, once you take out their captain, their admiral pops down to captain again, you can target it again.
Yes.
Yeah, so potentially, if they don't have too many captains and crews and admirals, you can flush them all out no matter what. So it's pretty sweet.
It is.
Conditional effective.
It's a nasty card when it works. It's just not always guaranteed to work.
And certainly after the Scimitar first came out in Wave 9, a lot of people had switched to doing very limited or like skeleton ship builds where they might only have a captain and maybe some tech or weapon upgrades. They wouldn't do the crew route, just to sort of thumb their nose at all the people bringing out the Thalerons. It's like, haha, you can barely touch me.
Yeah. Although you do that, and then you can still do 5 damage to them, which is going to hurt almost every ship significantly.
Oh, for sure.
Even the Borg don't like 5 damage.
Yeah, can you imagine if Borg ships and Attack Wing actually could have lots of crew? This would be brutal. This would be as bad, if not worse in some cases, than the transphasic torpedoes from Voyager.
Ugh.
Which we're getting a re-release of soon.
Yeah. I'm getting the chills over here at that.
Yes. Well, let's warm things up a bit. What have you got for us next?
Well, we've got some tech.
Mm-hmm.
And up first is the improved cloaking device. It's a 5-point non-unique card. If you have the cloak icon on your action bar, you may perform a cloak action even if you have no active shields, and or if there is an aux power token beside your ship.
Nice.
This upgrade costs +5 for any ship other than a Reman Warbird.
It's one of those nice things where When you're getting low on hull and you stop using your cloak, you want to use your shields to give you that little bit extra defense. And then, you lose your shields, you've only got a little bit of hull left. If you could, you wish you could cloak, now you can, so you can at least get some extra defense back.
Yeah. The problem I have for this is if they truly wanted to make it thematic for the Riemann Warbird, for the Scimitar, why not just let you keep your shields while you were cloaked?
Yeah, that would have been so much better.
I mean, yeah, it would have been a very messy effect. They would have needed to probably price it different, but that would have been far more thematic than this.
I don't know. I think it would work pretty solidly as is, with 5 base costs for the Riemann Warbird. Just, while you are cloaked, or when you cloak, you do not have to disable your shields to do so.
I suppose.
It'd be a simpler text for the ability, and not unrealistic, not impractical. Like, your shields would still take damage when you get hit, and on ships like this, you've only got, 3 or 4 shields. Like, with this ship, you get 4 shields. Generic, you get 3. And if you're really going to be paying the 10 points or 11 points for an out of faction or other one, you're not usually having a ton of shields on a cloaked ship. The only time that would be scary is on a cloaked cube.
Yeah, which, 10 points for this card plus 10 points for a cloaking device. Now you're looking at just a fun homebrew game.
Yeah. It would be crazy scary, but it would certainly be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a useful card, but for what it actually does for you, it seems like it's a bit much. I would think this card, as is, would be better at like 2 or 3 points.
Yeah, because it's a nice little boost to cloak.
Not worth 5.
But it's not... No.
Yeah.
Alright, you want to bring us home here?
Alright, last on our list. Secondary Shields. 6 cost tech. At the start of the game, place 3 shield tokens on this card. During each end phase, if you have fewer total shields that are either active and or disabled than your starting shield value, you may remove 1 shield from the card and add it to your ship. If your ship is cloaked, you may choose to add the extra shield as a disabled shield. This upgrade may only be purchased for a Riemann Warbird. Well, it's cost point for point. You got 2 points per shield token. You can only add 1 per round. So, it's not bad, but it's not one that I've ever really seen used other than the first day it came out by some other players. After that, nah. Too limited. Like, I would like it if you could place up to the 3, so you could use them all if you need them all, But 1 at a time sometimes isn't enough.
Right, you might be dead after 1 round of being able to use this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like if you're cloaked, odds are your shields are all disabled and you're not really taking anything. You usually don't start out uncloaked and then cloak later because your shields are usually gone. It's only in combination with, say, the previously mentioned improved cloaking device that this would really sing as a card that way. But the way the natural order is, you cloak, you eat up some hull, you decloak so you can use some of your shields, and gaining back 1 shield at a time, even without an action cost, it doesn't always benefit you enough. So, such as it is, it's an okay card. 6 points is a bit pricey considering that you don't have the option of getting them all at once. Like, I would say put it at a 4 cost if you're going to do it as written, and that would make the card a maybe. Not a very strong maybe, but a maybe. Putting it at 6 points, you better be able to put them all down at once if need be.
It's a card that just doesn't pack enough punch for what it is.
No.
I mean, look at the improved shields resource, or as people call it, shield Wi-Fi. It's cool because it gives you shields and you can apply them to different ships. But people still don't run it because it's so expensive. And this card is cool, but it's so expensive.
Yeah.
And this is one case where the cost, even though it's in line with what you're getting, it's not justified.
It would be nice if it was like, it had the ability to just arbitrarily cancel damage 3 times or something like that.
That would make it better.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like a damage sponge at that point.
Mm-hmm.
If it was 3 shields on the card and you could mark the damage by removing the shield from the game.
Kind of like an A Blade of Shields effect.
Yeah. That would actually justify the points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, to me, this is a much, much, much weaker improved deflector screens for more points.
Yeah. It's not even there because it doesn't... It's what we've talked about. It's...
Yeah. It repairs
you almost
a shield,
have to come in
a sense.
Yeah, and you have to come in not cloaked, really, to get the benefit of it.
Yeah.
It's too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
The full setup for the Scimitar is just too much. This is a ship that was built before the 50-point rule and came out after the 50-point rule, and it suffers from it.
Right, because as is 38 points for the named ship, that leaves you 12 points for captains and upgrades. So, given that you've got a 6-point captain, and this card alone, the secondary shields, is 6 points, that would max you out. Do you really think that Shinzon in the secondary shields is a solid build in a 50-point? I don't think so.
Because I don't.
Hell no. You could do Shinzon and two of the talents not using his ability kind of thing. Like, you could use 4 talents with him. That would cost you 10. You'd only have 2 points left. And
that really tells you that this was not built with 50 points in mind.
Yeah. Like, as you say, designed before the 50-point rule, released after, it kind of was a bit of a disappointment for a lot of people in that respect. It's like, well, how am I going to use all this? But outside of the 50-point rule, some good options. Inside of it, you've got to be creative.
I mean, you use things that aren't on the pack.
Right. And at the time, or in that time frame, you would then later be able to use, like, the fleet captains to do some discounts. In this case, effectively would be either like on tech or weapons. Most notably on tech. That would be the most effective for this ship with the Romulan options. So you could discount enough that you could throw some more cheap stuff on there.
But the pack as a whole, the Scimitar alone is what makes it worthwhile. Or the generic warbird. The ship itself is what you buy this for.
Yes, like if you're a Romulan player, like strictly Romulan, you really should have 2 of these packs. One for the named, one for the generic, to field those in your fleet. If you're a play anything player, you need to have at least 1 of these in your kit. It's just such a good ship. You really can't get around not having 1 of these. And one of the few high skill captains, Shinzon, with a pretty solid ability. You know, it's not Picard, but it's 6 cost, 9 skill, talent, with the ability to play around with up to 4 different talents. So you've got a lot of strength there. So ship and captain alone, bam. You've got a super cheap captain skill boosting admiral for 1 point. You can't go far wrong with that. Target weapon systems, very powerfully effective, versatile talent. 3 points on its own. 4 points if you want to blend it in with others using Shinzon's ability. That's pretty epic. So those are the real strengths of this deck. The other cards may find use, but these are the ones that really sing. They got my money.
And they got my money twice. As for the actual reprint, I don't think I need to get a second one or a third one now, but I haven't seen the new ship. Mm-hmm. I don't know how different the model looks. doesn't look that different in pictures to me.
But we know through history and the example with the Venture image, it doesn't look anything like the final product. So wait until you see what's on the shelf, and that can help you decide if you buy your second or third or whatever. Like, I myself am unlikely to buy a third one simply because I already have two. The cost of the ship is high enough. You're very rarely, if ever, going to be fielding three of these guys, except maybe in like a casual large game. So, and given the unique nature of the majority of the cards in this pack, Reman Boarding Party, Photon Torpedoes, Improved Cloaking, and Secondary Shields are the only things you can use multiples of. And not many of them are overly useful. Those are the lesser useful cards. Reman Boarding Party being the only clear winner of the bunch. So, whether I get a third one is really going to depend on how good the model looks. If it looks great, I'll pick it up. If not, most likely I won't. I spent my money. I bought two. I'm very happy with them. Great ship. So it really depends on what you already have in your fleet.
It really does.
So, Wave 25 all in all, that's pretty awesome. There's two really great ships in of themselves. One good ship with a cool ability, and a lot of good cards. So whether you play Federation, Klingon, Romulan, there's a lot of really good options in here. And if you play mixed, there's good cards in here to cover you no matter what you play. So I honestly think that for a wave release that contains two re-releases and a ship with a class that's already in existence, this is actually a really good wave. So if you're a new player, this wave should put you on cloud 9. A lot of great things here. If you're an existing player with already a large collection, hey, at least there's one in here that should get your money. And that'd be the Venture, of course.
Hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Well, unless, of course, you don't play Federation. That's really the only reason I can see to not pick up the Venture.
Yeah, I think if you're not playing Federation, there's not tons of need, though the additional phasers are probably worth it for just about anybody.
Yeah.
Expensive, but probably worthwhile.
Anytime you can get extra attacks, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for us. Go out, buy stuff in this wave. If you have the Negh'Var and the Scimitar, go get a Venture.
Mm-hmm.
and enjoy. Get out there, play.
Get your game on.
That's what makes it fun. All right. Until next time, folks, we're out of here.
Live long and prosper.
Warp core breach in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
This is Nick.
3.
And this is David.
2.
Ejecting the
1.
core.
Warp core ejected.
Warp Core Breach is produced by Nick Norris and David Montgomery, with additional content from our contributors. Our computer is voiced by Corinne Donnelly.
Warp Core Breach is not endorsed, sponsored, or affiliated with CBS Studios Incorporated or the Star Trek franchise. All Star Trek trademarks and logos are owned by CBS Studios Incorporated.
All sound files are used under Creative Commons 3.0 by attribution. For specifics, please visit our Facebook page by searching Warp Core Breach Podcast. If you want to contribute to the show, let us know on the Facebook page, or you can email us at warpcorebreachpodcast@gmail.com.